We're going to talk about it now. Understand that we're doing this because we're 2 days out of football season. So we've got a lot of exercises that we're going to do between now and next August, or this August, that probably aren't the smartest things to do, but we got to fill time.
It's fun.
and
I don't even think it's about filling time, Jay. It's fun.
Yeah, but you know what? There's always the jerk that's like, "Oh, stop trying to tell us what's going to happen now."
Right.
We're
Well,
doing
that's
it
what
because
sports
we're filling
talk
time.
is. That's what we're doing.
We're filling a lot of space. It's like, I think I've told you guys this, every year Todd McShay would go nuts. The day after the draft was over, ESPN would have him do his mock for the next year.
Right.
I like that.
And Todd's like, "Are you kidding me?"
Right.
I like
Are
that.
you? And this is exactly what this is. And at least they mock themselves, ESPN, because they call it ESPN's way too early power rankings.
Right.
Browns come in at number 19, and they are last in the AFC North. They're behind Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and Cincinnati. The teams around them, I mean, I can't complain about this. This is basically the reverse draft order, if you look at it, because all they're going on is what they saw last year. You don't know what free agent signings are going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen in the draft. They have the Browns 19. Bull, you start. Too high, too low, just right.
No, I think it's just right. I mean, you could argue they could be ahead of Washington or whatever, but I mean, they're in the right neck of the woods. If I went through it 1 through 32, I might have them 1 or 2 spots further ahead or maybe 1 spot below, but I think basically they're in the right spot. Everybody says, well, the teams are going to change so much. Well, are they? I mean, they're going to change some, but the core of these teams, for the most part, are going to stay the same.
Jay, how many roster spots flip? 8 to 10 max?
On the Browns?
Well, annual, on average per
Yeah, that's
per
probably
team.
about
Yeah,
right.
and how many of
about
those
8 to
are
10.
key differences?
Yeah, but there's
4 or
internal
5.
growth. There's internal growth
Sure,
for players,
sure.
and there's
But-
guys that come in that.
But I
you
don't
draft.
think it's
Coaching changes, which we've obviously had a big one.
right. But I just think in the end, the core of who the Browns are they're one of the hardest teams to grade because you just at this point have no idea what Deshaun Watson's going to be.
Right.
If he gets back to being the player he was in Houston, or maybe even better, then the Browns could be a top 10 team. If he plays like he did last year, they're going to suck.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah. I think they should be 4th in division. There's no reason to put them anywhere else. What have they done to prove that?
I guess you could argue Pittsburgh maybe, but that's it. That's the only one you could even argue.
Yeah, I wouldn't even argue that. I think they're fine being 4th. I'd probably bump them a little bit higher than what they are. If you look at the teams around. Now, it's hard. I mean, they lost to the Patriots and they lost to the Jets, so it's hard to make the case. But I look at the quarterback situation.
Did they beat Washington?
They
all
did
run
beat
together.
Washington.
They're ahead of the Jets, though. They're ahead
Right,
of the Jets.
right, yeah, right. But I'm saying like all those
They
teams right
should have
there,
beaten the Jets.
they beat the Jets, or they lost the Jets. They're ahead of the Jets. They
Right.
lost to the Patriots. They're below. I would move them above those 3 teams, 17, 18, and 20. I'd at least get them higher than that because I like their quarterback situation better than what New England has, better than what the Jets have. But we're nitpicking. We're splitting hairs at that point. But
Nobody
overall,
can really, look at that and say, "Oh, they're way off
right,
on this."
right.
Do you have the rankings below them?
I can pull it up for you real quick.
Yeah, I'm
It's
in
Washington 20.
No, Washington.
Washington's
Jets.
18.
So the Jets were 20.
What Jets 20,
And the Patriots were above them,
17.
17.
Here's how it goes around the Browns. You have the Packers at 16, Patriots 17, Commanders 18, Browns 19, Jets 20, Raiders 21, Rams 22, Panthers 23, Titans 24, Buccaneers 25, Falcons 26, Broncos 27, Saints 28, Bears 29, Colts 30, Cardinals 31,
Yeah.
and the Texans 32.
I mean, I think you could make a case for them being ahead of the Patriots and Washington. I also think you could make a case for, believe it or not, the Rams if Matthew Stafford is healthy.
What you mean?
And the Jets being ahead of the Browns, too. I think you
Rams, Saints.
well, who's playing quarterback for the Saints?
Right.
It didn't matter last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they beat
Well,
Deshaun
but
Watson last year.
I'm not going to make all my
beat
decisions
Deshaun Watson.
based on one game from last year.
When it was 30 below.
Yeah.
Which should have benefited Cleveland, not New Orleans.
Yeah, I mean, they should have won that game. And if Njoku catches the ball in the end zone, we're having a completely different conversation.
I don't like them better than the Buccaneers.
No,
They don't have-
I mean,
Kyle Trask is the quarterback
Now, the
of the
Buc-
Buccaneers.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, we don't have no idea who their quarterback's going to be.
I'm surprised the
Won't be
Broncos
Kyle
are that
Trask.
low. I mean, the Broncos
That
are
was the one team that
27.
stuck out to me too, Jason.
Who?
Wow, the Broncos at
The
27.
It's a
Look at the Cardinals. Look at the amount of money they've spent in the last 2 years on a coach who's now on vacation.
Yeah.
And on a quarterback who was Baker
They're
Mayfield
still,
Jr.
Yeah.
They still haven't hired a coach yet. Apparently, it's going to be
I thought didn't we kind of determine that
No,
you
the
had
Colts,
told
the
me
Colts hired the
Colts,
offensive
yeah, the Colts.
coordinator. The Cardinals are down to Sean Gannon, Cleveland native or Cleveland ties, Eagles
Not
defensive
Sean
coordinator,
Gannon.
or
John Gannon.
Jonathan
John-
Gannon.
John
Eagles
Gannon,
DC.
excuse me, or
And Lou
Anarumo.
Anarumo. Please do not hire Lou Anarumo.
Please hire Lou Anarumo.
Get him up
Please.
out of here.
I will go to Cincinnati and help pack his truck. I think we all will, except for Bull.
Yeah.
I will. I won't do it, but I'll bring my brother.
But I think the Browns are in the right spot. What do you guys think?
I could have him lower. I told myself I was not going to do this, and I'm holding myself accountable. I drank too much Kool-Aid last year.
Still got bellyache.
My
going the
stomach
opposite.
hurt.
Bubble
My-
guts. You got bubble guts from all that Kool-Aid.
I was trying to get here. I was on the toilet during the morning call. No, you're not getting me. They should be around 25.
Oh, come on.
Wow.
25.
There,
You
that's
know
too
why?
low. That's too low.
25 is a nice little spot. You know why? Because I'm looking at these other teams, and I can't put you over nobody you lost to, right? I
don't
just
agree
can't
with that.
say that. Now, look, I'm looking down there, and I'm looking with the quarterback situation. I don't think they're going to be able to fix these holes, man. These holes are very disturbing. You look at the defensive line room; they don't have enough money. We talk about the Cavs cap room and the Guardians cap. The Browns cap ain't like that. Ethan Poaches, I don't know if they talk about, well, we might figure out, no, Ethan Poaches is going to get a deal on the market. You need to probably sign him back. When you gave Conklin the money, I'm like, okay, well, now, for sure, it does not look like you're getting a high-priced defensive tackle. They might have to do some one-year gaps to fill in the defensive line. Maybe you get a Fletcher Cox. Maybe. But he might want $14, $15 million a year.
Gee, they still won 7 games with Jacoby Brissett, who played better than expected, and Deshaun Watson being awful. So ultimately, we could nitpick these other areas, and they do need to improve, no doubt. But if it's all the difference between the Browns and all the other teams ranked 17 and below is the Browns quarterback has more upside than any of those teams by a lot.
So I will say the price of tea in China, that works. But yeah, the price of tea in China changed from yesterday to today. When I put a post up and said, not only does Deshaun Watson have to be better, he has to be better than he was in Houston. Because when he was in Houston, they was 4 and what?
12.
Well, that was 1 year. The 2 years before that, they won double-digit games.
When they was in the playoffs, they was up how many points against Patrick Mahomes?
Right.
He
I hear
came
you.
right on back. He got to not just be Houston good. These other dudes that got better. Burrow's better. Allen's better. All these dudes is better. Hey, listen, even the kid in Jacksonville, Lawrence is better. He not only has to come out, he got to play to a level, because when he was playing like that, wasn't no guy named Jalen Hurts. It wasn't none of those guys. He got to play better than he did in Houston. Now, I don't know if that's possible. If he plays better than he does in Houston, maybe you don't need as much help.
I think he played great in Houston, and if he plays to that level, they'll be competitive. They'll be fine.
I like you guys. I'm not going to go as low as 25. If I was going to move them, I would move them down, not up. That's how I approach this. And I think the reason is, if we had seen Deshaun for 3 games last year and he struggled, I would be okay with that. But we saw him for 6 games, and I never saw anything resembling what we saw in Houston. Not even close. Were there moments where maybe if I squinted and looked funny at the TV, maybe I saw a glimpse here or there? But Baker Mayfield went to the Rams, and in his first game with 2 days, looked like a world beater. And then the next week he came back out and looked like Baker Mayfield. One of the things that's really disturbing to me is if you take Baker's numbers from 2 seasons ago, I think they were 17 and 13, 17 touchdowns, 13 picks. If you add Brissett and Watson's numbers together, they're essentially the exact same numbers as Baker Mayfield's. So to your point, G, he can't just be what he was in Houston, but I'm not even seeing him approaching what he was in Houston. So we need this Herculean leap if we're going to talk about a playoff team next year. And I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm saying right now, if I have 100 chips, I'm putting 60 on him never being that guy again. And I'm going to hedge my bet with 40, thinking that maybe he can, time and space away from this scandal, work his ass off this offseason.
Yeah.
To your point, Are you living with the head coach right now?
Better
I
be.
want them spending 8 hours a day together during the offseason, brainstorming,
Breakfast.
watching Andy Reid. Hey, can we do this? Is there a twist maybe that you can come up with on that? And we'll find out, because you can't hide hard work.
Right.
No.
Yeah,
So we'll
I
see.
look at the chances of Deshaun Watson getting back to the player he was is much higher than 40%.
How many chips of your 100 are you putting in that he's back to that guy?
I would put 85.
Wow, you're really confident.
Yes.
Jay?
70, 65 to 70.
Me, it's a 50-50 progress. It's 50-50.
He has suddenly become the
50-50.
pessimist.
You
of
think
the
there's
group.
50-50 chance
By,
he's going to be a scrub?
by September, he'll have them at 14 wins.
Yeah.
Remember, you guys
50-50?
remember when we talked about touchdown catches?
Yeah.
Amari Cooper, he's like, oh, he ain't going to have 20. Njoku, oh, he got 10, easy.
Njoku, I had about 12, 14 touchdowns. Kareem Hunt's numbers was ridiculous. I was kind of close on Amari Cooper, but I will say this too, though. It takes a little bit of time to develop that. When I was watching Joe Burrow in against the Kansas City Chiefs, and they ran that little out and up in between double coverage, bracket coverage, and he threw it up there, and Jamar Chase went up and got it. He just knew that. He just knew he was throwing that. I said, Amari Cooper and
He's not doing that.
He's not doing that. They're not even on that same platform.
And that's to the talent upgrade that the Browns have to do this. And we all know that. And to your point about Jacoby and Watson equals Baker, well, I would say, yeah, because they were running a similar system. They didn't really get to overhaul the system.
I know, but what I'm saying, you're right, same system. But what I'm saying is, who in their right mind would have said that Jacoby's 11
right.
plus
Deshaun 6
Deshaun
would equal
6
Baker.
would equal Baker's
Yeah, but
14?
But Jacoby played better than Baker did the year before.
Right. So you
Yeah.
would think that they would blow those numbers out of the water, and they didn't.
But here's the thing, the 30,000-foot view, and I've said this before, they threw a grenade into the entire franchise in March, and it impacted everything.
Yeah.
And does that excuse maybe a fourth down call you didn't like? No. But the overall trying to get ready for the season, they were trying to get two quarterbacks ready at the same time in training camp. They didn't have the OTA preparation with Deshaun just because of everything hanging over the franchise.
Right.
They did. It affected training camp. It affected the preseason. It impacted everything. And they couldn't, in the last 6 weeks, suddenly throw out the playbook and come in with a brand new playbook. Now they can, and I fully expect them to. I think Kevin and Deshaun are going to do exactly what you said. I think Deshaun is spending a lot of time here.
You get a sense that they
yeah,
are?
this offseason. He's not going to be here all the time, but I think he's going to be here quite a bit.
That's so important.
And I think him and Kevin together are going to put the playbook together of what do you like? You like this? Great. You don't like this? Okay.
And
here's another
Yeah.
one. Do you like this one? And I think together they're going to work together. And I do think you're going to see talent grades. Maybe we see 2 new receivers next year. I think you're going to see talent upgrade on the offensive side of the ball. And I think the offensive side will look vastly different than what we've seen the last few years.
And there's so many ways. We've talked about this before. The cap is basically a myth. There's always ways around it. There's always ways to push money down the line.
Eventually, you have to pay the bill.
Eventually.
But they're not at that point. But
Not even
eventually,
close
you
to that
do have to
point.
pay the bill.
They're not close. They're not even at the cap. They still have cap space. It's not like they're not in the great cap shape they've been in the past because they had no good players.
I don't think the
They still
cap.
got-
I don't think the cap is a myth in the NFL, but it certainly isn't what the NBA is.
it's not a hard line, and
Right.
there are some things you can do to manipulate it, and to your point, sort of push off paying the piper down the road.
They have over $20 million in cap space. They could move on from John Johnson, which would save them a lot of money. I would assume they're going to renegotiate with Amari Cooper and restructure his deal.
If he's willing, he already renegotiated once.
Right, but
is he willing
if
to
he's
do
not
that?
losing money, if it's just being
But here's the
restructured,
thing,
why would
his
he care?
agent is saying, wait, you're telling me my guy had the kind of season last year that he needs to renegotiate?
Yeah.
No. But nobody's saying he's going to lose money. Just you restructure it to push the money forward. Maybe they extend his contract and just you know what I'm saying, spread out the money over
Right.
more years.
Am I crazy, guys? That the more this season goes through the offseason, that I just keep looking and I'm saying, man, we might need it's the receiver. I don't know why I keep looking at. I'm a D tackle. We were terrible up front, but when I keep watching the playoff games, I don't know why these receivers just pop. We watched the Super Bowl, and I'm like, man.
I
Smith
think,
and-
though, that
Internally, they want an upgrade. They know they need to upgrade. at
when I
receiver.
watch, and you guys are going to look at me like I'm crazy right now because I was not for the Njoku contract. I wasn't. I thought they overpaid him. I still
did.
I think we all did.
think that for what they paid him, even though we got more production for him, they didn't get dollar for dollar value.
No.
take that into account, what I'm about to say. When I watch Travis Kelce and I look at him and say, okay, what is he doing that makes him the GOAT?
Mm-hmm.
I don't see anything that we couldn't get out of Njoku, who is more physically gifted, runs as well. Kelsey's a real enigma to me. Maybe it's Mahomes. I don't know.
Mahomes certainly is a big part of it.
But
and I also
my
think,
God.
I think it's some of the consistency factor with
there's
Njoku.
huge
Yeah, you're right. He
differences.
drops too many easy balls.
Yeah.
Travis Kelce never drops a ball.
No, he
Njoku
doesn't.
has
Look at the catch he had in the Super Bowl where he was like 6
And
inches off the
Njoku's
ground.
His
gotten
catch
better.
radius is insane.
Yeah.
Njoku's improved. Travis Kelce runs perfect routes. Plus, he's been playing with Mahomes for 5 years.
And that makes a big
They
difference.
share a brain,
That makes a
essentially.
big,
They don't
big
even
And
need
by
to
the way,
look at one another to
Travis
communicate.
Kelce's physical gifts and athleticism are way underrated.
They are, but I still, when I look at Njoku and I look at what he can do and the if you put the two of them side by side and you didn't know anything about them and you just looked at them, you're like, give me this guy. I mean, he
Right.
passes the look test with
Yeah.
an A+.
But what Travis Kelce would never drop the catch in the end
No.
zone against the Saints.
Never.
So I want him catching 150 balls on the jugs machine every single day in the offseason.
I agree. I've been saying for a while, I think wide receiver is the most important thing. But this idea that we got to choose between wide receiver and defensive tackle, there's plenty. The whole you can upgrade both areas. It's okay.
You need to do both.
Yeah.
And here's I never really thought I would come to this because I'm more of a talent guy. I'm more like, okay, if you got talent, you win. I just think they need to be around each other. They need to be like, I wouldn't, all of them, Amari Cooper, Njoku.
You mean like bonding? Team
Yes,
bonding?
they need to be practicing, then going to eat, then going to go read books together, then going to hang out, and then do it all over again. They need to be like old school, remember the Titans type stuff. That's, for me, I see these other teams, and these other teams, when they get down, they don't quit. Like the Browns, they get down. You made a comment. The Browns will have a holding penalty on first down.
That's the end of the drive.
And it's the
That's
end
it.
of the drive.
You know they're punting.
It's chalk it up. They might even get a loss of 3 on the next play, so you know they're punting. It's just like I don't see that with other teams, and I think it's just like they need that person to be like, "Come on, bro, we got it." Like
They need a leader.
And
too.
it's interesting because Kevin Stefanski's got to know that his job is on the line this year.
He knows, doesn't he, Jason?
So
I think they all feel it.
Yeah, they have to.
It's got to be turned around.
I mean,
'cause
this
you can't
is
move
year
on.
4.
You can't move on from Deshaun Watson. You're
No.
locked into his contract.
Just like
so if
just
Deshaun
like
Watson
Arizona.
can't turn it around, the reason the Broncos coach got fired after 1 year is because they spent a lot of money on Russell Wilson and he sucked.
Even Nick Chubb, I never thought I'd see. He tweeted, "Hey, I'm tired of this." No, he didn't say I'm tired of this. He said I'm tired of watching, like during the Super Bowl, which is so crazy because, like, man, I feel you too, Nick Chubb. I'm tired of watching these teams play.
Especially when you know you're the best at or one of the best at your positions. It has to be so frustrating for Myles Garrett too. Watching
for
all
sure.
these guys get it's one thing to get accolades in the 17 during the regular season, but everybody's watching every snap of every playoff game. They're staggered. You can watch everything.
Yeah.
And if you're a guy like Chubb or Garrett, it should piss you off. To the point, I hadn't seen that until you just brought that up.
I hadn't either.
But you know what? I love that. We need him to be a warrior on those sidelines because they'll listen to him.
One of the columns I was going to write for this week, I haven't read it yet, was the fact that this organization already pissed away Joe Thomas's career.
Yep.
You've got 3 more that could be going to the Hall of Fame, and Bitonio, Myles Garrett, and Nick Chubb. You can't piss them away either because that was one surrounded by nothing. You have 3 on one team who could go, and all 3,
What an
I
indictment.
believe all 3 will have legitimate cases.
As long as they stay healthy.
How could you have 3 guys, 3 Hall of Famers on one team, and you can't even make the playoffs?
Well, I mean, I think Garrett's the most likely
Yes.
to go.
And
But
I'd
I
say
think
Bitonio's the
you
next
give
most
Chubb
likely.
2 or 3 more seasons at this level, which is certainly doable the way he takes care of himself. I think he's a very, very solid lock. And yesterday we said Bitonio's 4-time All-Pro or 5?
5-time All-Pro.
Yeah,
Guys,
right.
that's it.
Yeah.
When you're a 5-time All-Pro, you pretty much lock it.
Yeah.
I
And
think
so
all
you're
3 of
right.
them have a legitimate case. Are they locks?
No, I don't think. Yeah, but
I think all 3 have
it's
legitimate.
likely. It's more likely than not that they all 3 go in. And to your point, I was angry when I read the Haslam's comments about Joe Thomas. We're so proud of him. You didn't do right by him. I know he didn't play his whole career under them, but
Right.
the fact that he never saw a snap in the playoffs is an indictment of your ownership. And don't let that happen to 3 more guys.
I think Joe has said on the record, like, the tanking destroyed his career. The last 2 years, the 1-31, destroyed his career. It just destroyed him.
I think that almost destroyed half the Browns fan base. Like, do you remember like that feeling that when the games used to come on?
What a low point.
And
I was covering the NBA. I didn't have to worry
You
about
were
it.
aware of what was going on, and you lived here, so you know.
Jay, it was like you knew they had no chance of winning.
None.
It was like really? And you turned on every
I would
week.
turn the game on and I would say, so how are they going to blow it this week?
Right.
It wasn't, are they going to win or lose? How are they going to lose? How are they going to find a new heartbreaking way to lose?
They're better now, but we're still saying that. We're still kind of expecting it to go wrong.
In the games that could have gone either way last year, the Browns lost the majority of those games.
Yes.
Until they get to, because I think 60 to 70% of every team's game are winnable with 1 or 2 plays flipped.
Of course.
So until they set a winning culture and find a way to win 75% of those close games instead of losing them, that's the difference of success and failure.
Well, and the winning culture is set by the quarterback, really.
And
it
is. I think
the Bengals
you're right.
had no winning culture until Joe Burrow got there.
Well, he's the guy that single-handedly changed it, but I also believe they've got the right coach in that building in Cincinnati.
But he would have been fired. If Joe Burrow had been a bust, he would have been fired.
But a quarterback alone to do that is really difficult.
I don't know. A quarterback goes. What do we say about Mahomes in the Super Bowl? If
Watson
they have the
couldn't
ball
do that
last,
in Houston.
If they have the ball last, they're going to win the game.
Yes.
Yes.
You just knew it.
You knew
They
it.
turned them around. Same thing.
But Buffalo got the coach right too.
And I do like Sean
I
McDermott.
think I'm not saying the quarterback
the
isn't
bloom
the
is
biggest
off the rose
piece.
on Sean McDermott.
The
let's be
quarterback
honest.
is
still like
probably
him.
the biggest piece, but I think that you also need other things going for you.
Of course.
And the coach, to me, is the teacher. He's the one setting the temperature in the room, and then the GM is sort of the principal, and it all has to work in conjunction with one another. And you weren't here yesterday, and I want to get your take on this. Just in the course of our conversation, somebody that covers the league and has for a long time told me, this was a number of years ago.
Yeah.
I think it was even before Stefanski, in fairness to Kevin. But when I was trying to drill down, he's been around a lot of winning organizations too, and I said, give me the biggest differences, and I'll sum it up in the nutshell. He said, in Cleveland, everybody's got their hands on a piece of the rope, but they're not all on the same side. There's a lot of working against one another.
100%.
He said that he believed that Jimmy Haslam set a culture of the Survivor. The CBS show Survivor.
Yep.
That he almost intentionally set up that culture to see who's going to win. So he had the GM pitted against the coach, pitted against an analytics guy, and this reporter told me in Pittsburgh and in Dallas when they had success, and in New England, every guy had their hand on the rope because they knew that there were 31 teams that had their hand on the other side of the rope,
Right.
so they were all working together. And he said in Cleveland, they're tearing apart from inside.
I'll disagree with the fact that he was doing it intentionally. I don't think he was doing it intentionally. I think he didn't know, and he was asking too many people for their advice. I mean, we've heard stories of, and I probably should be saying this because we've heard stories of them talking to coaching candidates in the interview and asking, what should we do? And this is pre-Kevin. This is years ago.
Yeah.
But this is him trying to feel his way around and figure out what to do. And I don't think that it was intentionally, we're going to put these guys against each other and see who wins. I think it was, I don't know what to do. What do you think? What should we do? And then go to this guy. I don't know what to do. What do you think? What should we do? And so now you've got a direct pipeline to the owner, and now you think you've got sway with the owner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now it's too many
I don't think
voices.
anybody would purposely.
One
do
of the
that.
lines that I heard was that it was always a fight for Jimmy's ear.
100% true.
And
yes.
I just don't think you're ever going to win that way.
And I do think that this setup is structured better than what they've had in the past.
You do.
Because you had the analytics guy with the football guy, and they were not getting along. And
Right.
I mean, we've heard stories of DePodesta and his crew getting thrown out of meetings when John was here. Saying
Dorsey.
when Depot, and Paul, you can stay, the rest of you out. And there was always this clash of styles and of beliefs. I think most of that is gone. I think that they do finally they're all on the same page and they all see it the same way. Now, you can argue they're looking at the wrong page. If you want to argue that, go right ahead. I'm just telling you, I think they finally all see it the same way, which has never been the case here before.
Okay.
And it's
Which is
fascinating.
important.
And it's fascinating to me now. I'm sure you guys probably talked about this yesterday. Now they want to get in the NBA. Now the Haslams are going after
Yeah,
it.
we weren't nuts about that.
right.
What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
I think it's two things. I think it's one, so like you and I, like we can make money in real estate, right? Like that's where you go to make money. When you have billions, you make money in pro sports.
Sure.
Because they are recession proof. They always go up in value. If you can afford to get in on that, it never goes down. It only goes
So that's
up.
what they're looking to do.
I think it's an investment. Number one, that's a big piece. And number two, I think that they eventually want majority of control of a team. I'm not saying Milwaukee, but we've talked about this before. This is how you get majority of control. You get in the fraternity,
Right.
you get approved, you get a minority share, and then when the team opens up, you go. We saw it with the Phoenix guy was going to buy this Bucks share, and then the Suns became available, and he just went right to the Suns.
Because he wanted the whole thing.
He wanted the whole thing.
You don't have a voice in the room when you're a 25% owner.
You do not. Now the Bucks have some. It's really strange where the board of governors seat rotates among the owners. It's a really strange setup that I've never really.
It's almost the Packers do something similar.
Yeah,
don't
but
they?
this is like between the Edens family and Lazarus piece, and like Lazarus sits for a year on the board of governors. It's really strange. So the Haslams will have more input, I think, than most minority NBA owners, but I can't see them as wanting just a minority stake, knowing how minority ownerships
want the
work.
whole thing.
They want to be in control.
They're
So-
the majority owner of the crew.
Yes, they are.
Maybe the only owners.
I think
you
they
think-
are. And this is step one. And I think whether it's Milwaukee or elsewhere, they're going to be now in position to pivot and take a team.
Well, maybe they'll focus less on Cleveland and not
I
screw it
don't
up
know.
as much.
To
here.
that point, Jay, do you think that Jimmy has backed off at all?
No.
He's still as big a meddler as he's ever been.
Yes. I don't think he's backed off in terms of
His involvement.
No.
That's
which
terrible.
continues to be a negative for the team.
Yeah, I think he's like they are huge sports fans and they're invested.
When you're Jerry Jones and Dan Snyder and even Jimmy, your ego's too big to pull back. They're thinking in their mind, wait, I know more than all these guys. Why would I pull back?
Yeah,
You
business.
have to know what you don't know.
Well, but there's plenty of owners that don't do that.
Right.
Right,
I mean,
you're
you know,
right. But this personality type, I don't think he's ever going to do it either.
Did you say disc personality? Do you might take disc assessments with your personalities or anything? You don't know what a disc analysis is?
Oh, is that like the PER or whatever?
Yeah.